Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we're going to make a valve chest cover from bits of metal. Now for this one, you may be wondering, why don't I just use the casting? Well, I'm a cheapskate. Yes, the casting for this is a lot more expensive than a length of bar. So I've decided to go down the route of fabricating one out of a piece of bar, as it's pretty much 10 times cheaper. As you can see, I've already made one. And basically it was to find out whether I could fabricate one, which I can. I'm going to run through how I did it. By using bits of metal like this, which started life as a very long bar. And then using the bandsaw set at 45 degrees, I then cut the pieces. I need to prep all of these pieces of metal. Not just a little prep, a very big prep, because there's still about 1/8 of an inch to take off these pieces of metal. After some considerable grinding, you end up with some prepped pieces of metal, just like these ones here. And a very large pile of this horrible grinding dust. That was just from the worktop. Makes you wonder how much has gone up my nostrils, doesn't it? I've cut a piece of metal which is the exact size of the internal of the valve chest, which kind of looks like this at the moment. It's a little bit rusty, but it doesn't matter. Right, so all we do now is we're going to get it tacked together, which will start with the bottom corners. What I'm doing here is I'm putting a TIG weld down, a fair amount of filler wire, and quite high power. This is to make sure that the two metals are joined together and will seal up really nice. Again with the TIG is just doing a hot pass, basically to wash over the weld that I've just laid, to make sure that there's no imperfections. There's anything that could be there is going to be burnt out. It's quite high power and it just gives us a nice neat finish. Now I'm going to do a pass over with the MIG. Again, fairly hot. This is to cut in, make sure we're filling up the cavity that I've got left. And then at the end, I will cap over this again with another MIG. But this is literally to fill the material up. There's nothing special about it because this is pretty much going to get machined off anyway. So it's just to make sure that the metal's going to be filled over the top. I think it's a bit smoky in here. It's alright, I've opened the door, so it's going to vent out a bit. I'll let it cool because it's rather hot, very hot. If you keep this workshop warm for a couple of hours. I need to grind out the outside corners, get them ground, and then I can get them welded. So there we are. V'd it out. That now I will fill with TIG. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Matt, you're going way overboard with this. Which, yes I am. I don't want it to fall apart. But yes, I am going over the top, and I know I am. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it. So, and this is the type of stuff I used to do anyway. Maybe a bit neater in the old days, but not so much now. Okay, so there we are. They're all welded, all the corners. Now I'm going to let that cool. I'll dress it off, and then we'll get to the milling machine. Because right now it's still very hot. So we're in the milling machine. What I didn't show is I've welded the internal corners. These are just TIG welded, quite a substantial weld. Because it's on the inside corner, it's more of a sealing joint than the strength. The strength is all in the weld that goes around the outside. So I'm going to use the largest carbide cutter I have, which is a 10mm. You might think that's crazy, but last time this worked perfectly. I used a face mill, and I just didn't think the finish was that great. But this carbide cutter, perfect. So we'll get facing that off at maximum revs. Let's see what happens there. We're on maximum revolutions here, as it's a carbide cutter. There we are, that one's just gone over the weld. This is where I need a power feed on the axis. Although this is a fun exercise, you know, to fabricate a valve chest, weld it together and machine it, it's very, very time consuming, and that's the biggest issue with this. If I'd have bought a casting, I would have eliminated a lot of the machining that I'm having to do. But like I said, it's a fun exercise. I've enjoyed it. Well, I enjoyed the first one. This second one, I'm not so much enjoying. It is a lot of work. It's taken a lot of hours to get here, because like I'm on day 3 of doing this. Obviously, I've not spent all day working on the valve chest, and it's time I could have spent doing some of the other things that we really need to crack on with the steam engine. We're going to keep going until we have the pair of them, and then we can get on to something else. Okay, so we are now done machining the valve chest. I think it's turned out really well. Next time, I think I'll get a casting, or I'll get one cast myself. I've got myself set up with the centre drill. I'm now going to mark for all the holes that need to be put into the valve chest, and then drill through with an 8mm. Right, so that's those in. It's quite difficult, these, because of obviously these lines from the machining. It kind of makes them look like they're not in the right place, but I can assure you they are. So I'll go through, drill through now with an 8mm drill. So that's all drilled now, looks fantastic. I've given it a quick deburr on the holes. The rest of it I'm going to file up around the edges, make it a bit neater, take off any sharp corners. So I now need to make the little boss that goes on the end, which is welded on. And literally it's just a little bit of metal, and I'm going to machine it down to length, down to width, and then I'm going to take a little bit off the top. And that'll be the face that I weld to the end, like the first one. To be honest, there's not much to it. It's just a simple little machining, just facing off and whatnot, so I'll get that done, then we'll get it welded on. After getting the piece of metal that'll be the boss to size in the milling machine, I then decided to practice a little bit of filing. Sometimes you've just got to do a bit of practice just using hand tools. Oh yeah. Now, am I worried about distortion? No. There ain't no way this should move. And the most important face is this top one. We're going to machine that after it's cooled, so we should be good. With the wire brush, I just go around it and it'll clean up the weld nice. That'll be perfect, that. All we've got to do now is let it cool, and then we can get it on the milling machine again and get it finished, because we're nearly there. I've now got the valve chest bolted to my angle plate, which is obviously bolted to the bed, all squared up, using the DTI across the back here. And now I'm going to set up to machine this to height off here. There we go. Yeah, very nice. Very smooth. Right, I'll just file around the edge, then we'll get some holes in it. So I've swapped to my centre drill. So I've got 2 bolt holes and a hole for the valve rod and the gland packing and the gland. So let's get on with it. .56 depth. I need a bit of lubrication. Now it's going to flick all over the camera. There we are. Right, so this is the last thing to do, which is to open the top section of the reamed 10mm hole. The reamed 10mm hole is for the valve spindle that comes into the chest that operates the valve, which opens the steam to whichever side of the cylinder we want. So this is to open up for the valve gland that helps push the seal down onto the valve rod. But the top is 0 on the DRO. I think you might just be able to see it here. So when I get to 0 it should be touching, and then I've got to go down 3/4 of an inch. Coming up to the 1/2 inch now. And we are just about there. There we are, we're done. 3/4 of an inch. So that's now done. My advice is, if you're going to fabricate one, take note, it's going to take a long time to make. If you cast one, I think you'll cut out quite a lot of machining, but it's done. We can get on with the next bit. Until next time, laters. Finally, it's done.